produce. It's like taking a whole bunch of dynamite and just having it sit in your backyard and be smoking next to it and throwing the matches down.
Yeah, they're playing with fire, so to speak, out there. Let me tell you that. I don't know what people aren't thinking. I think they're buying it by dollar signs with all these explosions that are going on somewhere in this country.
I have no idea. I don't want people. Don't go out there and try that on your own. One is they're going to compensate all your gas. They're even going to take your gas pump. And then they're going to give you something that's made out of chrome. And it's stainless steel. And they're going to put one on your right wrist and your left wrist. And then you get to go into jail till you get bailed out. And then you're going to find out what a real blowjob is. So you do not want to sit there and risk blowing your neighborhood up. I mean, seriously. The explosion could have wiped out all your neighbors.
Oh, my God. They should sit down and just orally talk about this before they just jump right into these things. Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's certainly better than, being on a toilet seat and having a snake come up.
Having a tug of war.
And then have the rescuers, the fire department, come off and try to jerk you off the toilet seat.
Yeah, they would probably bring in the whole neighborhood like on that movie, something about Mary, and everybody come in and take a look at it because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Could you imagine that guy on sitting in the toilet seat in this was bull or whatever the snake was, one of those big ones, right? Got a hold of his testicles, and he's sitting there, and he's saying, please help me. So the one of the rescuers just grabbed him by the arms and said, don't worry, we'll pull you off. And then he goes from a normal voice to, hi! No, really, seriously, because you know what? The snake isn't going to quit. It's not going to give up. Once it's found its nourishment, its dinner, its treat, it's not going to open its mouth and say, hey, take your testicles back. No, it's going to consume all of you if it has the chance.
Yeah, but I mean, that.
Could you imagine being somebody who had to clean that bathroom up?
Oh.
And if somebody would have not gone in there and heard the guy screaming, came in there like an hour later and just seen shoes out of the toilet in part of the guy's legs, and nothing else, just kind of where the guy was pulled in. It's possible. I've seen it in some of those sci-fi movies where they just pull you right down the toilet.
Right, and that egg, it's got that snake's got in its mouth what it thinks is eggs. So that's a delicacy to him, and it's not going to give those up very voluntarily. And I could just see that tug of war, the poor guy stretching him. He's going forward, and the snake's going back, and he's in agony. And them teeth, man, they're angled backwards. That's the whole catch-22 of this.
Well, I did find out today they did have to break the toilet.
Oh, they did.
I went back and read the whole news story. That was the only way they could do it.
I wonder about that because them snakes. How toilets they circle around, and snakes, them pipelines are long, and that's what I say. That had to be a heck of a tug of war going on.
Yeah, but can you imagine though? Once you broke the toilet, right? Now you're dealing with holding the guy up, right? And you're scared if you move him wrong, he might not be. He might lose his voice. And you're sitting there, then you have to deal with the snake.
Oh, that's right. You still got to deal with the snake.
And you know what? I've seen on these videos where they actually chop, the snake, just, below the head, and the snake doesn't die right away, even if you chop the body off. So, I mean, and are you going to put your hands around there and try to open up the snake's mouth more? I wouldn't.
Somebody's got to get a hold of the beans there, and somebody's got to get a hold of the snake. Oh boy, what! Can you imagine being the paramedic getting called in on that one? Boy, oh boy, what a story!
You know how embarrassing it would be. You know how many people would have been into that restroom? You'd have the rescue team, you'd have the police department there. And undoubtedly, you'd have some reporters there, because all that would be going over, the the scanners so that you'd have a reporter. You'd have a whole bunch of people there while you have your pants down to your knees and you're being held up by, some other people and the snake's attached to you.
Yeah, they're going to have a whole parade of people come in and take a look at this once-in-a-lifetime thing, the poor guy. And that's got to be horrible. And then, this guy's still got to live his life afterwards. So, how do you do that? How do you go to the bathroom? How do you go to the bathroom?
I don't know. I just wonder, hopefully he still had his testicles after that. I mean, because, you're right. They do have a double set of teeth. They're reversed. It could have easily just, but they're just not sitting there pulling it for food. They want the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. And that was another thing we talked about, too. When you think you're cutting the head off that snake, well, you might have to measure how much did the snake swallow and how far down is it, too.
Yeah, otherwise you could be sued if you cut too close.
Yeah, this is a very delicate operation, to say the least. My goodness, that was a nightmare for everybody. Because can you imagine the reputation of the restaurant after that? And they're not going to put a sign out on the marquee. Yes, we're the ones with the egg-eating snake.
Yeah. Where the guy had to get jerked off on the toilet. Let's see. Yes. Just think about that. I mean, it would really wreck your reputation. But it's not the restaurant's fault. It could happen in any toilet. If you're in an area where snakes are, they could end up everywhere. I told my wife about that, and she goes, well, we got a septic tank, snakes. And I said, listen, we don't have any poisonous. I don't care if they're poisonous or not. I don't want a snake. I don't want to sit down anymore. And I said, well, hey, you can certainly buy this thing. It's made in Japan, Linda. You don't have to sit down for everything. Anyway, moving along, I wonder if it was premium gas or regular gas in Las Vegas.
Sure it was the cheaper gas because you make more money on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either, but people get very inventive with things, and they don't look at the big picture sometimes because they're blinded by the dollar signs. And a lot could have went wrong there with the guy with the gas in the backyard. Really, I mean, honestly, and the neighbors. The poor neighbors, with there's kids around and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the explosion. I can honestly say one of my older kids, back years and years ago when there was a gas shortage, got I think like a 20 or 30 gallon drum and dug a hole and put a hand pump on this, the type of you pull up and down. And he filled it with gas, and then he put a hose on it. And I said, what do you do? Well, there's a gas shortage and the prices. And he did the same thing, but he wasn't selling it to other people. And I said, do you realize the fumes from that tank, because it's not vented right? I don't know how to vent the thing. It's illegal to do what you've done, son. And let alone, I like the house I'm living in. And if, and you smoke. And all it would take with that gas being buried, and he had it almost all the way buried in the ground except for maybe a couple inches. I freaked out. But this guy didn't even bury it. He just had like 4 great big drums, all strapped together, and then ran a hose to the gas pump.
Oh,
and who knows if and you know what? Each state goes through, right? And they measure the pumps, right? To make sure they're not deceiving people when they buy their gas. This guy didn't even do that. So he could be shorting people because he bought a used gas pump evidently, or found a used one. So who knows if they were even getting the gallons worth of gas.
And who knows how much water he added to it to even stretch it even further. And you touched on a good point, the ventilation, because that pressure of the fumes and the pressure builds up, and then you got heat and stuff like these factors that, it's a ticking time bomb if you don't have things just right. It's not, you just can't put gas on the ground and say, okay, here you go, let me pump it out. There's a lot to go into that to keep yourself from blowing up.
Well, now, in this case here, what he did, I'm looking at the picture. There is a brick fence, okay? And he has the drums right next to the fence. Then he has his little office chair next to that. On the other side of the fence, there's this neighbor's house. So it's like 15 feet away from the neighbor's house. So cars would drive in through his backyard, probably through the opening of the fence, and out the other side. And he was within 15 feet of his neighbor's house. How would you feel if somebody had hundreds of gallons of gas and pumping it right next to your house?
Right. And another thing that's very dangerous around gas and fumes, believe it or not, is cell phones. And a lot of cell phones, there's been cases that they've triggered fires with static electricity and stuff like that. It doesn't take much. And these are with real gas stations. So you can imagine the danger factor is even more wide open where he's at, and you got these neighbors and all kind of things that could go wrong there. They're lucky they didn't blow themselves up, really.
Yeah, well, the guy could have blown himself up along with whoever was buying the gas. I mean, what type of person would go to somebody's backyard to buy gas? You'd have to be really a cheapskate. Seriously. Well, gee, I found that maybe he was advertising on a local radio station like one of my competitors. Oh, you can go to such and such address here in Las Vegas and you can get gas for $2.49 a gallon. Limited to 20 gallons.
Yeah, they'll even marry you there and check your oil and everything.
And give you some old S&W green stamps at the same time.
Yeah, they will. They're taking you back to the old days, the full service. Come on in. It's cut rate, but it's cheaper, more dangerous, but, you get what you pay for.
No, I don't know. Anyway, tonight, our guest here in a few minutes is going to be after the news, actually. And, hey, guess what? My news story is going to be better than what your news is going to be, because nowhere else can you hear about, hey, a guy could have gave his whole neighborhood a free blowjob. Anyway, tonight, our guest is Tom Whitmore. He's very well noted in the UFO community with Mufon. People know him quite well. And he has gone he moved where he could go and get all this information about, UFOs, conspiracy documents and stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. Plus, I'm going to ask him, because he was at one time, in MUFON. What is going on with MUFON? Because you got two different camps with MUFON. You got the people that are 100% diehard MUFOners, and then you got the other people that say MUFON has lost its way. So I don't know if he'll touch on that, but I'm going to try to find that out for us tonight. So he'll be on at, 5 after the hour. And tomorrow on the show, we're going to be talking, I bet you don't even know who the guest is. We're going to be talking about black-eyed children. For years, people said, oh, no, it's a folktale. It's not real. But you know what? There's been a lot of reports worldwide, especially even out of the UK, that black-eyed children do exist. Now, are they demons or are they aliens? We don't know, but maybe tomorrow we'll find out what is going on with black-eyed children. I know if I went somewhere, if I went into a mall parking lot, and I was there late at night shopping, and the weather was really pukey out, and I go to my car, and if I see some little kids crying, hey, my mom and dad left me here, we're wet, can you take us home? And you look at them, and they have black eyes. Would you let them in your car? Because you know what? The whole thing is with black-eyed children, they're always asking to come into your car, to come into your house. And that is the point, is they're asking to come in. Now, isn't that what demons sometimes have to do, James?
Yeah, they sure do. And that's where they try to trick you, and you inadvertently invite them in, and then you're pretty much giving them permission, even if you inadvertently don't know it. And, the black-eyed children thing, I actually have somebody, I've got reports coming in from somebody from the UK even, that's been seeing a lot of black-eyed kids, and I'm going to try to get those together, tomorrow for the show. And the guest is, what's his name, Keller Eiler, I think his name is?
Yeah, Eiler.
Yeah. Hopefully I can get from that I've been getting from black-eyed children. It's funny because they reached out to me yesterday, and I said, you know what, we got a guest coming on, an expert about black-eyed children, and hopefully I can get the reports from them for tomorrow night's show also.
Oh, yeah. Should be interesting. Well, after our break, we'll have the news, and then we'll have Tom on. So everybody stay tuned.
and I drove his motorcycle very fast. Drove a big chop Harley with a gang.